Pastor Mark Biltz here from Shaddai Ministries. Thank you again so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe and share. Also, please like this video, and we would love to hear your comments. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye. In Luke 17:5, almost every Christian is aware of this verse. The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." And the Lord said, if you had faith like a grain of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it would obey you. Okay, and then you have all of these teachings on how to increase your faith. Most of them aren't correct. Okay, first off, the Lord didn't answer their question. When they said, Lord, increase our faith, he just said, why should I increase it? You only need a little tiny bit and you can move mountains and mulberry trees. The problem isn't that you need your faith increased. The problem is you don't know how to operate the little you have. You following me? You don't, in Romans, I don't have this verse here, but Romans 12 says he's given to every single one a measure of faith. He's given you the measure of faith. You don't need to increase it. You need to know how to operate it. How many of us have a computer and don't know how to operate it? You don't need more RAM. You need to know how to use the RAM you have. And so when they said, God, increase our faith, he's saying, increase it. You only need the tiniest bit to move mountains. You need to know how to operate it. Let me give you an example. Look at 1 Corinthians 13:13. There's faith, hope, and love, but these three, but the greatest of them is what? Okay, so increase our faith. Basically, the greatest of faith, hope, and love is love. Why? Because love is what operates the faith. Look at this. Galatians chapter 5, verse 6. For in Yeshua neither being Jewish, circumcision avails anything, nor uncircumcision, being non-Jewish, but faith which works by love. If you don't need to increase your faith, you need to operate your faith. And the way you operate your faith, I don't have it here, but the rest of Luke 17, I do. Okay, let's go here for a minute. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 7:19 through 20. Look, he just says circumcision avails nothing, neither does uncircumcision. Well, it's the same thing in 1 Corinthians 7:19 and 20. Circumcision doesn't count for anything, neither does uncircumcision, but what counts is what? Keeping the commandments. There it is, keeping the commandments. Because I don't have this verse here, but in 1 John, God says, if you love me, you will obey me. Keep my commandments. Okay? So that's keeping the commandment God is what matters. Everyone should remain in the condition in which he was called. If you're uncircumcised, don't get circumcised. If you're circumcised, don't get uncircumcised. The thing is, you have to operate through love. Now, you have to, again, when it says keep the commandments of God, that means only keep the ones that apply to you. You don't have to keep the ones that apply to others, but we do look at the laws and say, okay, wow, I'm not a judge, but God says judges shouldn't take bribes. Well, hey, I'm not a judge, I can take a bribe. Is that the attitude you should have? Or do you say, wow, that commandment doesn't apply to me, but I can understand God's nature and character, I probably shouldn't take bribes too. Okay? From a legal standpoint, this is called like case law. If God had to list every occupation that couldn't take a bribe, it'd look like our tax codes. Okay? So God also, some of them, we have to look at when he issues them, like to the farmer. God gave a commandment to the farmer in Israel. And he said the farmers cannot plow the corners of their fields. They have to leave them for the widow and the orphan. Now, today, we can say, I'm not a farmer. That doesn't apply to me. Or we can go, wow, I can see how God wants us to take care of the widow and the orphan and the stranger. I need to do that. Okay? So, or we could say, well, that's done away with. I don't have to take care of anybody. I'm not under the law. Okay, that's another dumb way. Okay. So when they say increase our faith in Luke 17, he says, basically, I don't need to increase your faith. You need to learn how to operate what you have. Like, studying how to exercise does no good unless you exercise. Okay? And so look what Luke 17. This is how they increase their or operate their faith. He says, will any of you, Luke 17, 7 through 10, who has a servant plowing or keeping sheep, say to him when he come in from the field, come at once and recline. Will he not rather say to him, prepare dinner for me, dress properly, serve me while I eat and drink, and afterward you can eat and drink? And then does he thank the servant because he did what he was commanded? So you also, when you've done all that you were commanded to do, you're to say, we're unworthy servants, we've only done that was our duty. Okay, let's look at how that applies to us today. How many of us, when we do nice things or do the commandments, realize we're only doing what he told us to do? It doesn't earn us necessarily any merit. If we are God's people, he commands us to do something, and we do it, we're only doing what we were told. The problem comes when we think we've initiated all of these things, and we go to God to pat us on the back just because we did our job. Is everyone following me? Now, here's the key answer is Galatians 5:13. He says, brethren, you've been called unto liberty, but don't use your liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love, do what? Do you know if you serve one another through love, your faith will operate like never before? That's how you operate your faith. That's what he's telling them. In Luke 17, look, if you want to have your faith operated, you need to come across in all of your good works when someone, and you can see this a lot of times in the news, when someone is proclaimed a hero and they say, no, I'm not the hero. It's all these other people that were around me. They were helping me with it. I never could have done this. And they put the focus on everyone else versus someone else who comes up and uses their name all the time. And it's all about me. And look what I've done. You following me? Okay. So love is the action which produces faith, and love involves action.